Today I want to go over the philosophy of liberty, or the principles behind the concept of liberty. I'm going to be reading from The Philosophy of Liberty by Ken Schooland. I found it on thephilosophyofliberty.com, and we're just going to be reading through it, and I'll be giving some comments as we go along. So he says, my philosophy is based on the principle of self-ownership. That is, you own your life. So this is the starting point from the underlying philosophy of liberty that I hold to, and that libertarians and anarchists hold to. That is that you own yourself. No one on this earth has authority over you. That from where does that authority come from? All of us are created by God and are equal before God. So in no sense can someone own you. You can submit to authority, you can submit to someone else, but in no sense can someone forcefully be over you. In other words, the concept of a king or government doesn't work because of this principle of self-ownership. But again, I tend to get ahead of myself, so you'll see that as we go along. He says, to deny this is to imply that another person has a higher claim on your life than you do. So that's what I was saying. No other person or group of persons owns your life, nor do you own the lives of others. So that's true. No one owns me, and I don't own anyone else. So if we just go with that, then we can begin to understand the underlying philosophy of liberty. So you exist in time. Each person exists in time. Future, present, and past. This is manifest in life, liberty, and the product of your life and liberty. So what he's saying is that your future is your life, your liberty is your present, and your past is the product of your life and your liberty. He'll go on to explain that. The exercise of choices over life and liberty is your prosperity. To lose your life is to lose your future. That makes sense. If you were to be killed, or if you were to die today, is to no longer have a future. He says to lose your liberty is to lose your present. That makes sense. If you are alive, but you are enslaved in some way, then you're currently losing out on your present, because your present is the ability to live your life right now. So to lose your liberty is to lose your present, and to lose the product of your life and liberty is to lose the portion of your past that produced it. So all of us has, in some way, has right now in the present the product of our past, and the past was our liberty at that moment. So the things that you've worked for, the money that you've earned, and the things that you've purchased with the money, which is a result of your labor, is your past. It is a testimony to your past. Okay. A product of your life and your liberty is your property. So he's going to go on to explain it. Property is the fruit of your labor, the product of your time, energy, and talents. So what you own, that you've justly acquired through voluntary exchange of your labor, of your time, for money, and then you've purchased things with it, or if you've traded something, then what he's saying is property is the fruit of your labor, the product of your time, energy, and talents. So it's the time you've put into your work, or whatever you've done, and the energy and the talents that were required to be able to do that work. The end result is your property, either your money or things you've purchased with your money or things you've traded for. So it is that part of nature that you turn to valuable use, and it is the property of others that is given to you by voluntary exchange and mutual consent. And here's a vital point when it comes to markets and economics. Two people who exchange property voluntarily are both better off, or they wouldn't do it. Only they may rightfully make that decision for themselves. So there's a logical progression here, is that if you own yourself, if you own your future, your present, and your past, your life, liberty, and your property, then only you, have the ability to take some of that property, the outworkings of your past, and exchange it with someone else. And the only reason why you would do that is if you somehow benefited. But the thing is, if somebody else were to enter into that voluntary exchange, they themselves would only be entering into it if it somehow benefited them. So you're both benefiting. And this is how a free market should work. This is how all free markets should work, is that every exchange will work out because of a mutual benefit there. And something that might happen later as a result of that exchange wasn't for the purpose of that later thing happening, but for the original benefit that came to the two people who entered into the voluntary exchange. At times, some people use force or fraud to take from others without willful voluntary consent. Normally, the initiation of force to take life is murder, right? To take liberty is slavery, and to take property is theft. I'm working off the presupposition that morals exist, objective morals exist, and therefore things like murder, enslavement, and theft are inherently wrong. They are just wrong. And so to engage on murder, slavery, or theft in any way is immoral. And so he goes on to say, it is the same whether these actions are done by one person acting alone, by the many acting against a few, or even by officials with fine hats and fancy titles. So here's an absolutely vital point for this video and for my philosophy. That is that this principle that is always wrong, always immoral, no matter for whatever reason, it is always wrong to murder, to enslave, or to steal. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're an individual, whether you're a group, or whether you're something called the government. It doesn't matter. Whatever noble reason it might be why you would engage in it, it's still wrong, and it doesn't justify the end. The ends does not justify the means. So that's an important point when you're discussing with people who believe that there should be universal health care or public education or anything done by the government through taxation. It doesn't matter how noble the goal or vision is. Remember, I was talking in the previous video about a goal or a vision. It doesn't matter how noble the goal or vision is. The ends does not justify the means, because in order to fund those programs or those activities, you would have to tax from people, and tax is a form of theft. So you're taking away from somebody's past by taking their money through force. People do not voluntarily give money to the government. Now, if they did, that would be fine. But the vast majority of people do not voluntarily give to the government, and in fact, the money is taken from each of us without our consent. We consent only because we have the possibility, the ramification of being arrested and sent to prison or fined. So it's at the initiation of force. You have the right to protect your own life, liberty, and justly acquired property from the forceful aggression of others. So you may rightfully ask others to help protect you, but you do not have a right to initiate force against the life, liberty, or property of others. Thus, you have no right to designate some person to initiate force against others on your behalf. This is, I think, specifically speaking to something like welfare or something, programs where you take money from one group of people and give it to another. Again, the goals or vision associated are probably very noble, probably very compassionate, and I would agree with the idea of taking care of people and helping the poor. But the ends does not justify the means. You do not have the right to take money from people who have money and give it to the people who don't have money, because that's theft. And theft is immoral. So if you have a goal or vision to give to the poor, provide universal health care, or provide public education, then if you can find a way to do it without violating the principles of murder, enslavement, or theft, a violation of your future, present, or past, then that'd be great. That's what a free market should do. Anyway, okay, so we'll continue. You have the right to seek leaders for yourself. But you would have no right to impose rulers on others. Exactly. No matter how officials are selected, they are only human beings, and they have no rights or claims that are higher than those of other human beings. So, if you do have a form of government, if you want to put it that way, where you have leadership and where they make certain decisions for certain purposes, that would be fine. But they have no right, absolutely no right. It doesn't matter that they've been elected by some, to impose on individual rights, the individual rights of your life, liberty, and your property. Yeah, so regardless of the imaginative labels for their behavior or the numbers of people encouraging them, officials have no right to murder, no right to enslave, or to steal. You cannot give them any rights that you yourself do not have. So, that is absolutely vital to understand. Just because people are elected by a majority, just think about that. Not everyone gets to. Not everyone will agree on who our leaders will be. So a majority elects certain leaders to the government, and they then have the right to use their guns to enforce things at pain of death, which is the taking away of your future, or to throw you in jail, which is actually just, if it's not for a legitimate crime where the initiation of force was used, then it's actually kidnapping and enslaving you, or they can take your money without your consent, which is theft. So since you own your life, you are responsible for your life. You do not rent your life from others who demand your obedience, nor are you a slave to others who demand your sacrifice. You choose your own goals based on your own values. Success and failure are both necessary incentives to learn and to grow. So this is speaking to the fact that in a genuine free market, whatever you decide to do will be because you are passionate about it, and you feel that you can make money at it, or you can be successful at it. And so therefore, you should be able to go, and pursue that endeavor. But your success and your failure is dependent upon you and dependent upon the voluntary choice of others to either accept what you're doing, that is, buy your product or service, or grow it bigger, whatever the case may be. But here's the thing, if you fail at it, that's good too, because though you failed and you probably lost money, you are then able to learn from your mistakes and then provide a product or a service that would actually be successful and accepted. So this idea that somebody's too big to fail is ridiculous, because you have to allow failure, because that then enables the market to grow, because people are going to learn from either their mistakes or the mistakes of others, and then provide a better product or service. So the idea of free markets truly encourages innovation. Your action on behalf of others, or their action on behalf of you, is only virtuous when it is derived from voluntary mutual consent. For virtue can only exist when there is free choice. Like I said, yeah, you might have a virtuous goal or vision, but if you do immoral things to achieve that vision or goal, then it's not very virtuous. This is the basis of a truly free society. It is not only the most practical and humanitarian foundation for human action, it is also the most ethical. Problems that arise from the initiation of force by government have a solution. The solution is for the people of the world to stop asking officials to initiate force on their behalf. Okay, if you think that everybody should have health care, then the way you can achieve that is by voluntary means. And say that won't work, people won't give. Okay, then I want you to go door to door with a gun and say, I'm going to give me your money now, give me however much you think would be necessary, give me your money now, and I will take it on your behalf and put it to a healthcare program. If you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be okay with giving that authority to a bunch of other people, that maybe half or less than or a minority of the population have not elected to be in power. No one has the power. Everybody has individual rights. Okay. Yeah, so the solution is for people of the world to stop asking officials to initiate force on their behalf. Evil does not arise only from evil people, but also from good people who tolerate the initiation of force as a means to their own ends. In this manner, good people have empowered evil throughout history. Having confidence in a free society is to focus on the process of discovery in the marketplace of values rather than to focus on some imposed vision or goal. If you say in a totally free market environment that healthcare won't be achieved for the masses, or education won't be achieved for the masses, you don't know that. And that's the thing. Trust in the creativity and the innovation that comes when people are left alone and are able to voluntarily engage in exchange and in figuring out the principle of supply and demand. If people want something, if you think people want healthcare and education, don't you think people are going to find ways to make money off of it, and therefore are going to be able to provide it on a mass level? Using government force to impose a vision on others is intellectual sloth and typically results in unintended perverse consequences. So relying on the fact that, no, if the government doesn't provide healthcare or education, we're not going to have it, you're just being lazy. Use your mind and try to figure out how we can have universal healthcare and universal public education without the use of force, without taxing people in order to do it. Figure it out. Use your mind. We can do it as human beings. Achieving a free society requires courage to think, to talk, and to act, especially when it is easier to do nothing. So, if we allow these principles of freedom, this philosophy of freedom, philosophy of liberty, to underlie what we do, to be the motivating factor, then we can never rely on the government to do the things that we want to do, those goals and visions. If you have a goal or vision, good, but do it through voluntary means. Because only through voluntary means can we have a moral, ethical system